Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Ernest Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. And then there were four. The 2023 USFL Playoff Semifinals are here, and I'm going to go over which teams I think will win the playoff semifinal games and move on to the USFL Championship Game. Now, in the North Division, you have the Michigan Panthers and the Pittsburgh Maulers, and in the South Division, you have the Birmingham Stallions and the New Orleans Breakers, who have made the USFL playoffs. And in the North, both of the teams are 4-6, and both teams are super fickle because the Michigan Panthers and the Pittsburgh Maulers are two teams that all year long I've been picking for them, and then they lose, and when I pick against them, they win. They're all over the place, and it's really tough to predict who will win this game. To make matters even worse, this game's in Canton, Ohio, so there's not going to be a home field advantage for either team. Pittsburgh technically has the home field advantage because they do hold the tiebreaker against the Michigan Panthers because they beat them twice. Now, will that come into play for Pittsburgh? Because it's really difficult to beat a team 3 times in the same season. It's very hard to do so, but you never know. The Pittsburgh Maulers did beat them twice. Maybe they can beat them again. But the Michigan Panthers, though, have a change at quarterback. E.J. Perry is their new starting quarterback. He played last week instead of Josh Love, who threw 4 picks in the game before that. So Michigan's going with someone else. And it proved to be a smart move by the Michigan Panthers because last week they beat the Philadelphia Stars 23-20 to help propel them to the USFL playoffs. And yes, they did get a lot of help by their defense. There was a blocked punt that was returned for a touchdown, so it wasn't all E.J. Perry leading Michigan to victory last week. It was a lot of their defense as well. The Panthers have actually had a solid defense all year. It's been their offense that's been the problem, but E.J. Perry did his job. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't turn the ball over. He was 12-23 for 121 yards, and he had 10 carries for 48 yards and a touchdown, so he does display a dual threat nature at quarterback. If he can be a guy that does not turn the ball over like Josh Love did and also Carson Strong did at quarterback for Michigan, it would give the Panthers a shot to win this game. Reggie Corbin had 12 carries for 24 yards and a reception for 9 yards, and Stevie Scott had 3 carries for 12 yards. The running game for Michigan's solid, but the Panthers have relied so much on the running game throughout the season that it has hurt their chances of being able to have a successful rushing attack because the offensive line is trying to block and the quarterback play has not been that great. So all around it impacts the running game, and it just makes Michigan's offense fairly predictable, even though they do have 2 fairly solid running backs. Trey Quinn had 3 receptions for 44 yards, and Joe Walker 3 receptions for 22 yards. Michigan's a solid team on both sides of the ball. They've got the defense to win this game. They've got the offense, if E.J. Perry doesn't turn the ball over, to win this game with their 2 solid running backs and a decent receiving core, but the Panthers cannot make mistakes, and their defense has to be crisp like it was against the Philadelphia Stars, and how they slow down Case Cook if they want to win. Because Pittsburgh, they've got their number. Like I said before, they've beaten the Michigan Panthers twice already this season, and last week they dismantled the New Jersey Generals 26-6. I did not really see that coming, but Pittsburgh, again, they mauled the New Jersey Generals. Finally, Pittsburgh is the team doing the mauling. They didn't get mauled for once, and Troy Williams, he was 17-25 for 154 yards and a touchdown and 6 carries for 40 yards, and just like what E.J. Perry did last week for Michigan, when Troy Williams does not turn the ball over and he is playing mistake-free football, it makes Pittsburgh's offense so much better. Garrett Groshek had a solid game. He had 12 carries for 53 yards. Madre London, 9 carries for 16 yards and a touchdown. And Isaiah Henney had 6 receptions, 48 yards and a touchdown. He was 0 of 1 passing, so at least for him, there wasn't an interception out of that, but he did have an incompletion. And Bailey Gaither had 3 receptions for 27 yards. Pittsburgh's offense played some of their best football of the season last week, and their defense did a great job shutting down the Generals. If they play like that again, then they'll probably have a great chance of beating Michigan because the Pittsburgh Maulers looked better last week than the Michigan Panthers. They've already beaten the Panthers twice this season, but it's tough to beat a team 3 times in the same year. I do think that the Panthers are riding high off that Philadelphia Stars win, but Pittsburgh, their win was so much more impressive over the New Jersey Generals 26-6. This is a really close game that I think could go either way. It's going to be really interesting to see how this one shakes out, but I feel like the Pittsburgh Maulers are going to play a little bit better in this game, and the fact that E.J. Perry, we've only seen 1 game of his where Troy Williams has played all season for Pittsburgh, so he's a bit more trustworthy overall at quarterback. E.J. Perry could make a mistake this week, and that could cost Michigan a chance to win this game. I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Maulers to beat the Michigan Panthers 21-17 to move on to the USFL Championship Game with a chance to win a title this year. Now, in the South Division, you had the New Orleans Orleans Breakers and the Birmingham Stallions. The Stallions are 8-2 and the Breakers are 7-3, and this game is in Birmingham. The Stallions have the home field advantage, and that will help them out tremendously because their home crowd is the best in the USFL, and why shouldn't it be? Because they had the hub last year, and they've already got an established fan base and a really solid team to root for. But New Orleans, they're not a pushover. They had a really solid year last week. They beat the Houston Gamblers 17-10, and McLeod Bethel Thompson's been their quarterback all season long. He was 23 of 31 for 227 yards and 2 touchdowns. He had a really good game last week, and when he's not throwing interceptions and when he's protected by New Orleans' offensive line, it makes the Breakers a pretty formidable team. But he only had 1 carry for -1 yards last week. The only knock against McLeod Bethel Thompson is that he's an older quarterback, which is good with the experience and the fact he's played in the Canadian Football League and the NFL for so many years, but he doesn't have running ability, so that makes him very predictable on the offensive end and much easier to sack. But when he gets the ball out of his hands, New Orleans has been able to win a lot of games. Wesley Hills had 9 carries for 20 yards and 5 receptions for 40 yards. He's one of the best running backs in the USFL. He's great at catching the ball out of the backfield and running the ball up the middle. And Cyrus Habibi Lakio, he had 4 carries for 4 yards and 1 reception for 9 yards. He played a little bit last week and was able to help out the Breakers somewhat. Johnny Dixon had 3 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. And Sage Surratt had 5 receptions for 38 yards. New Orleans' offense, again, it is really solid when McLeod Bethel Thompson has a chance to throw the football. But if New Orleans is going to be able to win this game, their defense is going to have to play like they did last week against the Houston Gamblers when they held them to only 10 points. They cannot allow Birmingham's offense to get rolling or they will not have a shot in this game. And if McLeod Bethel Thompson has a couple picks or more in this game, like he has had in a few of their losses this season, New Orleans' chances will be very slim, and they're going to have to deal with the home crowd of the Birmingham Stallions. And the Stallions, they are 8-2, and they have lost to the New Orleans Breakers this season. The Breakers and the Stallions have split the season series, so it's not like either team really has the other team's number because of the fact both teams have won a game this season. And whoever wins this game will break the tiebreaker and move on to the championship game. But Alex Magoo, he's been playing so much better the last few weeks, and he lost the first time he played against the Breakers. He won the second game, so that's a good sign for Birmingham and the fact that they have improved as the season's gone along. And he was 22 of 33 for 282 yards. He had 2 touchdowns and a pick and 7 carries for 32 yards. Sometimes he still makes mistakes and he throws interceptions, but no quarterback's perfect. But you can just tell Alex Magoo has gotten so much more in tune with the offense of Skip Holtz. He's starting to play more and more like Jamar Smith, less mistakes. He's running the football. He's starting to drop dimes out there, and his passes are getting to the receivers right where they need them to be, and that's making Birmingham's offense so much better. CJ Marable had 10 carries for 56 yards and a touchdown and 1 reception for 4 yards. He's had a solid year, and Ricky Person Jr. has 7 carries for 34 yards. He had a pretty good game last week against the Memphis Showboats, and Birmingham beat the Showboats 27-20. They were already a lock for the playoffs, but Birmingham still won the game anyway, and Alex Magoo also got banged up a bit, but he still played the whole entire game. So that shows you the heart and hustle of Birmingham and Skip Holtz's team. They want to win. Even though they were already locked for the playoffs, they still gave it 110%. Darius Days had 9 receptions for 114 yards. Jay Sternberg had 4 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown. He's the best tight end in the USFL this season. And Deion Kane had 5 receptions, 42 yards and a touchdown. That is a great 3-man receiving core. And Birmingham's got a really solid team on offense. And they've got Shark Dog and Scooby right on the defensive end. Birmingham does not have a lot of holes. They are a team that had to find their way with all the injuries to Jamar Smith, Bo Scarborough, and others on this year's team. But they started to play better and better as the season went along. Skip Holtz's winning mentality started to filter throughout the whole entire team, and you can just tell it has contributed to their winning as the season has progressed. And New Orleans are going to have a tall task in front of them. I think if McLeod Bethel Thompson does not make mistakes and he's able to get the ball out of his hands, it will give New Orleans a chance, but their defense is going to have to slow down Alex Magoo. And I don't know if they're going to be able to do it. If they don't slow him down, they're not going to win. It should be a really solid game, but I am going to go with the Birmingham Stallions on their own field to beat the New Orleans Breakers 28-21 and move on to the USFL Championship Game to face the Pittsburgh Maulers. It should be really interesting. I'm looking forward to the USFL Playoff Semifinals this week. Both games have a lot of intrigue because the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Michigan Panthers, you can say even though that they do win, they're not going to have any chance against Birmingham or New Orleans. But look at the XFL. The Arlington Renegades, who were 5-6, they were able to beat the DC Defenders in the championship game, win a title. So you never know. Maybe Pittsburgh or Michigan, whoever wins, can get that done. In this case, I have Pittsburgh winning, so you never know. You just can't count them out. But the Birmingham Stallions will have a great chance if they continue just to play at a high level, and if New Orleans plays well, you never know also. But I'm going with the Pittsburgh Maulers and the Birmingham Stallions to win these playoff semifinal games. Comment down below what you think about my picks for the 2023 USFL Playoff Semifinals and which teams you think will, at the end of the day, make the USFL Championship Game. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I will see you next time.